You'll think this man, this cheerful, fat, jolly, smiling dude is coming to your homestead to help, dig some ditches or something. No, he's coming to bury you in your grave that he will dig for you. He's coming to kill you. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today, we are doing the most requested video ever, the most requested list ever.
By nobody.
By nobody. It's the top 10 games that'll get you dumped.
Or divorced, or get you sent to the couch.
Yeah, and if you're single out there, this is for you too. This is the top 10 games to
ruin friendships. Ruin
your friendship. Yes, but specifically with one other person. This list is sort of similar to the last list we did, which was the top 10 ways to get
you laid.
Yeah. The criteria is, these are two-player games, but not exclusively two-player.
So you can play with two players or more.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know why, but for some reason we have a tendency to play multiplayer games, but with only two players. We very rarely play exclusively two-player games. I'm not sure why.
Because they're better?
Yeah, they are better. They just feel a little meatier. Oh, and the last bit of criteria is the most important one. It's nice and passive-aggressive, because we want to help you plummet your friendships, destroy your relationships.
It's not passive-aggressive, it's straight-up aggressive.
I wouldn't say. No,
I disagree with everything he said about how he describes this video. This is straight-up aggressive.
Mechanically, it's called like a take that mechanic. If you're not sure,
That's
familiar,
an awful name.
Take that?
No, but it makes sense, but like...
I just say screwage, but take that works too.
These are awful names.
But if you don't know what a take that mechanic is, it's essentially when you can negatively impact other players. So this could be anything from like destroying somebody's building, stealing a car from them, stealing resources.
I would just call these mean mechanics. Like, it's just things where you play with mean players. Yeah.
A little mean, yeah, a little mean.
Got it.
It is.
Straight up mean.
But it's not straight up a war game. It's not like a player elimination thing like Magic the Gathering where you're playing until the other player is eliminated. You just mess with them. So let's get started. At number 10, we have Villainous. Disney's Villainous. In Disney's Villainous, you control a villain attempting to fulfill your win condition by traveling from place to place, performing actions consisting primarily of playing cards. Your deck consists of allies, items, effects, conditions, and sometimes curses. But be careful, your opponent may play a silly do-gooder hero from your Fate deck in an attempt to foil your plans.
I have nothing to say about this game except I hate it. I know, controversial opinion.
Yeah, we're in agreement with most of the stuff on this list, except I think this game and maybe one other game. There is some balance issues. Specifically, I think they addressed some of the characters.
Yeah.
Because they released a new pack, and I bought this game just previous to knowing that they were re-releasing with properly balanced characters. Whatever. This is what a villainous thing to do, Disney. I hate you. Yeah, if you're not familiar with the game, it is very light, but it's heavily thematic. Like it does feel like you're playing the part of a villain. And you couldn't certainly have a game where you're playing a villain and not being a little villainess,
No.
A villainess, no. Destroying other people's stuff. But what I think is interesting with this game is that the villainous things you do to your opponent can sometimes be to their benefit. Like if you're not paying attention, yeah, absolutely. Because if you're...
That's what an evil person would say.
No, I'm thinking if you're Captain Hook, there was a time when you want Peter Pan played. So when another person is playing through your deck and thinking, I'm screwing that person, you're like, oh, but I wanted Peter Pan in the first place.
I can't relate. But if you like those types of games, like this is a very good one to try.
It is. That's Disney's Villainous. And at number 9, we have Dice City. In Dice City, you seek to build a new capital for the Queen of Roldovia. Draft dice and attach them to special locations you've chosen to bolster the power of the dice you roll. Gather resources, slay barbarians, construct wondrous buildings, open up trade routes, or just spend your days destroying your opponents with weapons of war to make them cry. Dice City, unlike Disney's Villainous, the take that element is purely optional. In Disney's Villainous, it's pretty much unavoidable, but here you can sort of choose to sort of play your own game. Like I can build my little city and she can build her little city.
That's why I like this game.
But I don't play like that.
That's why I don't like him.
I like to mess with other people's things because in this game, you can attack either the player directly, I think, and steal their resources, or you can attack the perfect little engine building they've built.
Don't do that.
You do that.
Just like, I like games, I in general, I like games where you can focus on like building your best, like, structure or mechanisms, like build your own, like.
Absolutely, and I like destroying those structures.
I knew that was coming.
It's fun, it's fun. It's fun.
You love sleeping on the couch. When you get that take that kind of stuff. Like there's a little bit more action. It gets people more engaged and more like invested into the game.
Plus, with Take That, it's a lot. It hits so much harder when I Take That game is heavy. And when you've invested like 2 or 3 hours into a game, and you're like building the perfect little engine, and then somebody like a troll just comes along and goes like poke, 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 or in some games just smash.
I like that you call yourself a troll.
Yeah, it's a little trollish, but that's what makes it fun. And at number 8, we have Hey That's My Fish. In Hey That's My Fish, you control hungry penguins who have met on a quickly sinking ice drifts to gather as much fish as possible. Penguins move in straight lines and gather whatever fish lay under their feet when they start their journey. But watch out, taking the fish creates a hole in the ice, which could lead to your penguins being stranded by themselves and fishless. Hey That's My Fish has been in my collection for eons.
And I love this
It's
game.
really good.
I love this game.
Yeah, and it works really well for 2 players. I was gonna say you could probably avoid the screw agents game, but I don't think you can.
No, this one of those games, but this game like doesn't feel like it's very very mean. It's very just you're not mean just to be mean. Like Dice City, I feel like you're mean to be mean. Whereas Hey That's My Fish, he's just
I'm mean to be mean. No, because when you're playing Hey That's My Fish, yeah, you can be going for that 3 fish as often as you want, but then there are times where you're like, you know, if I see Kim off in that corner, if I could just scoot this penguin here, then move him up here, she's blocked. And now she's on this tiny little isolated island. And that's just so bloody satisfying, you know?
You know, there's something to be said about people who get so much satisfaction from being.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. It's a great game. And I don't think it's out of print. So if you've not played it, just buy it. Just add it to one of your orders.
It's so simple, and it's a game where like there's literally like one action that you really take, right? So you can play it with kids. We play it with like friends and stuff. Like if you want like it's a really short game too.
Absolutely, it like fits in between the larger games you play, and it's super cheap too. That's why I was saying add it to your list, your order, because I think it's like 15-20 bucks.
Exactly,
or something.
It's so cheap, so simple, and just so fun.
Yeah, lots of opportunity for screwage, especially at the 2-player count. And at number 7, we have a complete opposite type game from Hey That's My Fish, Through the Ages. It's a new story of a civilization. In Through the Ages, you control a civilization. You'll build huge wonders, gather resources, discover new technologies, elect powerful leaders. But while doing all that, you better maintain a strong military presence, because rival civilizations will seek to tear you down and attack your civilizations, or worse, lay horrible future plans to steal your resources and exploit your weaknesses. One of my favorite games, so it has a tendency to crop up on some lists. And
we did a full review of it on our top 5 board games of all time, so go check that out if you haven't. But yeah, this game is one of the, if not the most intense game we've ever
it's super intense.
played.
Sometimes with a lighter game, the Take That element it's okay, it's playful, it's fun. And Through the Ages, the Take That element, you feel it.
It's intense, and the game is like what 2-3 hours long at least. Like it's a very intense long game, and the Take That element isn't like a kind of like a haha I attacked a small thing. It's a full war. Yeah, it's full on like. You know,
it's a mixture because we I should say we don't typically play with the wars when we're just playing 2 players. I don't know why, but I just feel it's better without it.
What kind of war happens to 2 people?
Yeah, yes.
Civil War. Maybe?
But we do play with like the little skirmishes, like you do a one-off attack, and we also play with, obviously, we're always to play the passive. When you have the option to play like the one that benefits you versus the passive-aggressive event card that's like the weakest civilization loses a building or whatever. I will always play that weakest civilization one.
Like it's always
exactly. People. And because there's only one opponent, and you're familiar, you know that Take That elements are in the game, you are hyper aware of the things that your opponent is doing.
Yes.
Or at least you should do.
And you hold a grudge. Oh yeah.
Because if they start increasing their military, you know that there is a card coming up that's going to stay like the weakest person loses a civilization or something. Loses a population. You know it's coming.
And the war extends past the game to the rest of your life as well, because the game is so long and you're living it forever.
That's what makes it so great. It won't get you laid, but you can mess with other players. And at number 6, we have Evolution. In Evolution, you control an array of different species, dramatically adapting to their environment and the other species around them, who all share their same habitat and the same watering hole. Resources are sparse, and every species gathers around the same watering hole to feed. So be ready with the right adaptations to defend against rival species when they eventually evolve into carnivores to make you their new food source. In a 2-player game, you have that sort of cat and mouse going on, where you can see that Kim's turned into a carnivore, and then like, okay, well, I gotta ramp up and get my defenses up and do all these other crazy things.
2 players, I think, is a lot easier to like make decisions.
It's easier to keep track because you only have one opponent, so I can kind of look over at you.
Yeah, look at your own map, sir. But yeah, it's much easier to keep track of what they're doing, so you can prepare yourself better. But at the same time, I feel that two-player any game that's like low main,
this game's pretty mean.
I hate it. I love the game, but I also
hate it. It's such a good game. It's so good.
It's good mechanisms and it's a good play, but at the same time, if you play with a mean player, they're constantly eating you and attacking you.
I think the take that element is what makes Evolution thematically it makes it thematically brilliant.
Just be a herbivore and eat the plants. It's the take. Stop trying to eat mice.
No, it's the take that element that makes it thematically amazing. Because if you think about it, it is a game of evolution and adaptation. Like, I am looking at your player board, your tableau, and I'm saying, okay, she is now a pack hunting carnivore. I need to make sure that I increase my body size more to get bigger so she can't hurt me. Maybe I get a warning call. I have to adapt to what she's doing.
I do really, really like that. We talked about this last night, so we played it again last night.
It's so thematic.
It's so cool that it's able to do that. I think it does execute the theme in like the gameplay fashion really well.
Yeah, it's really well done.
The meanness of it, I think it's one of those games where it's definitely dictated by the players. It's not that the game isn't innately mean. The players you play with will dictate how mean the game gets.
Yeah. So Evolutions, definitely give it a try. If you haven't played it at 2 players, definitely give that a try too. And if both of you are playing and none of you have switched to carnivore, you're not playing properly. Stop playing.
They're friendly. They're friendly. But
you're not playing properly.
That's why the game's on the list. You've got to switch it up to a carnivore sometimes, and like it's fun.
You have to.
It's fun to eat the person. It's not so fun when you're stuck. You can't eat any of their species. You can eat yourself.
And at number 5, we went with Ingenious. In Ingenious, you are a mighty king building your vast empire of brightly colored monuments outward as you expand into your rival's territory, seeking to obtain glory through obtaining rare and valuable colored gemstones. Just kidding. You lay plastic tiles out on your turn and get to move your colored cube forward if you match colors.
Absolutely love this game. Very abstract. Like I said, no direct take that mechanic. But because it's not mean, another game is dictated by players and how you choose to play. So you can block someone off from what they want.
Exactly.
But I recommend sticking to your own player board and focus on what you need.
See, that's not the way to play Ingenious. Okay, this is why I included in this list. Okay, and this could be substituted for a variety of games like Carnegie and games that don't have a take that mechanic, but there's ways in which you can mess with other players. Okay, that's why I included it in this list. Because when you're playing Ingenious and you see that a person is really down on a specific color, I can mess around with the board to ensure that you don't get that color. But that's the way you should play, especially in a 2-player game. That's the way Renner Knizia wanted me to play.
Don't talk about my man like that. I like when games don't like prescribe a meanness to it, and it's up to the players how they want to play, because then it can be playful.
Yeah.
Right? The meanness isn't like you get divorced over this game.
No.
The meanness is more just like, I'm mad at you.
I will find any way to make any game.
Yes, that's true.
Any game that has no player interaction, I will find a way to interact and be mean, if I can.
And that's why he only plays 2-player games.
That's why
all our friends can't take it.
That's why this is so dear to my heart. Ingenious.
Amazing game.
And at number 4, we have Imperial Settlers. In Imperial Settlers, you control a major power attempting to expand the boundaries of your empire by building new buildings to strengthen your economy and various other structures to train soldiers. But be careful, the land is too small for every civilization to flourish, and so rival civilizations will seek to tear you down and the structures along with them. It's a great game, plays perfectly, and in fact best at 2. Lots of ways to mess with your opponents.
I truly love this game. Top 10 games for me, definitely. Cannot get sick of playing this game.
Yeah, it's super fun.
And I feel like
because it's mean.
I like the meanness in this game, I won't lie. Some games, the meanness just feels like unnecessary, and just like, I don't mind mean games if it truly benefits the other person. Like, you're not mean just for the sake of being mean.
I'd agree with that.
Like, if you're destroying a building, if it really benefits you, really helps you with what you're building, then it, to me, like, makes sense, understandable. not personally offended.
Exactly. Like you're raising that a person's building because you need specific resources, not necessarily because like, well, we'll raise you.
Just to be
I would do that, but
yes.
I understand not everybody's.
Don't be a Mike, aka Poophead. Don't be one of these.
But I think what makes Imperial Settlers is so great, and it's very similar to it's similar to a lot of games on this list. It's really cartoony and bright and like colorful, but that's the deception. It's like
fun though. It's so
like look. Okay, you think, look at how cartoony this is, okay? It's like a Saturday morning cartoon. You think this man, this cheerful, fat, jolly, smiling dude is coming to your homestead to help, dig some ditches or something. No, he's coming to bury you in your grave that he will dig for you. He's coming to kill you.
I'll swallow your soul!
The mean aspect of it doesn't feel like it overtakes the entire game.
No, it doesn't.
Right? Because it doesn't leave like a sour taste in your mouth. A little bit. But it's still like both of you can benefit from each other. And if they destroy one of your buildings, destroy one of theirs.
Yeah, and plus, when a person destroys your building, it becomes like a foundation, and you can use the foundation to build other buildings. So you even, in a sense, you can benefit from a person being destructive towards you. So.
Yeah.
That's Imperial Settlers.
Very, very good game.
Number 4. And at number 3, 5 tribes. In 5 tribes, you seek to control the lands of Nakala by maneuvering the 5 tribes to obtain influence, resources, and maybe alliances with the powerful Djinns. Or at least I think that's what the theme is. Just pick up the little colored meeples in an area and drop one off in each new square you move through and collect all the same color of meeples as the one in your hand on the last square you moved through. Oh, but don't forget to assassinate your opponent's meeples for shits and giggles. They only take that element in the game that I could think of. I think there's some genies that can mess with people, but primarily it's the assassin because you can use the assassin to destroy other people's meeples. But I think what makes that juicy goodness is the way in which you can make, if you're playing 5 tribes and you're just trying to optimize the amount of coins you get in your turn and you're doing this in a 2-player game, it's not the way you play. The way you're supposed to play 5 tribes, I think, is you make sure through your movements that the other player gets nothing. So you leave them with nothing. You make sure you're manipulating those board and those meeples on that board to make sure that, that's what I do. That's what I do.
That's why we talk to a camera and not real people.
And that's why I win every single game of 5 tribes, because that's how I play.
That's very true.
Do you know that?
We're selling this game. We're gonna run this game. Don't say this ever again.
That's how I play. I want to make sure Kim has like no good spots to take. That's how I play. That's fun to me. Fun for everybody. 5 tribes. And then at number 2, we have Seasons, which is one of my favorite games. In Seasons, you're a wizard competing to move higher in the ranks, play cards to summon powerful familiars and wondrous magic items, invoke the powers of the seasons to bolster your abilities and obtain more crystals than your rival wizards. But be careful, your rivals have many tricks up their sleeves to steal your crystals, your items, and your chance of becoming the new Archmage of the Kingdom of Xidin. I love it. Another one of those like beautiful box art, beautiful art in the game, but it's like there's some meanness in there.
And there's chunky dice.
Huge dice, as big as my head.
Nothing's as big as your head.
That's true, nothing's as big as my head. But it's a brilliant game. There's lots of opportunities for take that elements. You can take away people's victory points, you can take their resources, you can destroy their own cards. My favorite is like sometimes you'll draft a card and it gets passed around like a hot potato.
Yeah, those cards.
Those cards, they always come into play. Lots of fun opportunities to mess with your opponents. And I think that's one of the reasons I like it so much, because
I see.
Yeah.
I'm learning a lot about you.
I'm spiteful. The game can be a little spiteful. It can be a little mean. But I think that's what makes it kind of so much fun. It's an interesting way to interact with players. Not every interaction in a Euro style game needs to be like, oh, I took your spot that you wanted to put your worker in. I've foiled your plans.
No, he likes the mean games. But I mean, I really enjoy this game too.
It's a great game.
Yeah, I really enjoy it. I mean, even the light meanness, like when you take in a dice, I know you want, that's what you have.
I hate drafting.
Yeah. The cards, so this game I do think is designed to be a little mean, but it's kind of like peppered in. It's not the largest component of the game, it's just small little bits like that. So it's not the worst. It's definitely like manageable.
I think that's another great way to take that games more enjoyable, is that you can have a way to mitigate certain things to enable a sort of empowerment to the person who's currently being a victim. You know what I mean? Because if you play a game and it has take that mechanics and it just feels like you're just freaking getting punched in the face a bunch of times and there's nothing you can do about it, it's not going to be fun for everybody.
This game does that balance really well. Like even if you're going downhill, it's like a little bumps, like the sun balance. And so it keeps you coming back.
Yeah, absolutely. That's Seasons. Definitely check it out. One of my favorite games. And at number 1, we have The King of Spite, Unfair. In Unfair, you attempt to build the greatest theme park in existence. Mix wonderfully diverse themes together in your park, such as pirates, robots, vampires, and ninjas, to attract as many guests as possible. Stack up towering rides with upgrades to fulfill special blueprints, but be careful. Your competitors may send a safety inspector to your park to shut down the whole ride. Or worse, they may send thugs to vandalize your rides. Unfair is a great game that I don't think gets a lot of buzz. It doesn't get a lot of talk about. But Unfair plays perfect at 2 players just as well as 3 or 4 players. It's a game where, interestingly, just like many other games, I think, like we said, this is an important mechanic for take that elements. You don't have to take that. You know, the take that element primarily in Unfair is you have these event cards that you can play, and there's a top and a bottom to these event cards. And the top is always something positive for yourself, and then the bottom is always something negative.
No, some of them are pretty neutral. But
some of them are neutral. Yeah, but most of the event cards have like a bad side. And if you don't want to, you don't have to use it that way. But I like to use it that way. I like to see a person, building up this like friggin' intricate roller coaster or something, and then I know that because once you've played the game a lot, you're really familiar with the blueprint cards. So when I see a person has like a loop-de-loop or something, and I know they really need that for their like 50-point blueprint card, and I just come along like,
for context, Unfair is a game about building a fun fair. But almost like not an evil one, but like a themed one. It's kind of strange.
Oh yeah,
they'll pick your own themes, and then you can pick like a mix of themes. So every game you play is a little different, and it has like you add more themes for a different number of people, so it can get quite wild.
It does.
But because of that, like every main ability, I guess, or what take that ability is different. Yeah. So it's not just one person or 2 people doing the same thing to you again and again. Yeah. It's every main ability could be a different thing. Yeah, so it just makes the game unfair.
Sometimes the game does feel unfair. But I think, like I had mentioned previously, is that important to take that element is you need to have some sort of agency as the victim of a take that, and Unfair does provide that because all the other lots of other event cards have like a counter basically.
Yeah.
So when a person wants to
prevent things,
exactly,
or you can
exactly. So if I don't have that counter card and Kim destroys one of my things, but I had the counter card a turn or 2 ago, but I used it for something else, I can kind of feel like, okay, I'm part of my ride's destroyed, but I feel like this is kind of my fault as well because I should have held onto that card, and that's important.
Yeah, you actually feel like a sense of
control,
agency and control of the game and how your funfair actually is built out. And most of the games are focused on you building your funfair. Yeah. So each of you still have your own goals and targets you're actually working towards. The whole thing isn't just about destroying someone else's, which to me makes the game a lot more fun when you have purpose. Yeah, and if it wasn't for the take that element, Unfair would be pretty solo. It would be pretty much just head down, looking at your tableau, building it out. But there's still events that happen that affect everybody. There are. So, but it makes the play interaction really interesting and really cool. Yeah, very fun game. Unfair. Check it out. And that's it. That's the top 10 games to get you dumped. From your friends, family, from romantic partners, from your dog. Top 10 games to get you socially isolated forever. To be forever alone. Specifically for 2 players. Yeah, obviously this list is just tongue-in-cheek. It's just, it's sort of just to shine a light on a mechanic, to take that mechanic, which I really enjoy. I do not, mostly. Mostly, yeah. A lot of these entries on this list were my own doing. Because I really like messing with other players. But both of us have games from our top 5s end up on the list. Oh yeah. I feel the really good games that do this very well, it's not super obvious. Exactly. It's a subtle thing, and there's ways to kind of mitigate that and to kind of do other things as well. So nobody likes pure just rating people games. Munchkin. If you've never played Munchkin, you'll never play Munchkin. Thankfully. If you're not familiar with Munchkin, that's what Munchkin is. It's just bam, blam, blam, and you're just hitting people over and over again. It's a mess. It's a mess. And that's what these games aren't.
These games are done really well. The take that element is implemented perfectly so that you still feel when you're a victim, you have some sort of agency, and it encourages a different type of interaction that we don't typically get in our super dry, boring ass Euros, you know? And you're trading into the Mediterranean.
Oh, I love your games.
I do too, I do.
But a lot of the games, like a lot of the complaint we frequently, like we see on the channel, so there's no play interaction.
Exactly.
Play interaction. Which I love a lot of games where you're building your own system and structure, and you have your own goal, you're working towards that. But play interaction is important when you play a game with other people.
Yeah, and not all interaction has to be friendly. It's okay to be a little mean.
Little. The key word here is little.
Yeah. And that's our list.
Yeah. Thanks for watching.
Absolutely.
If you like this video, give us a big old thumbs up and subscribe to our channel to see more of crazy lists to...
The crazy relationship series list.
Yes.
We got you laid. Now we're getting you dumped. Maybe we'll get you married tomorrow. I don't know. Maybe top 10 list to die alone. I don't know.
Thanks for watching, everyone. See you next one. Bye.
Bye.